everybody. This is Jess from 3D Learning Experts, and you're listening to the LD Experts Podcast, the show for busy parents who want to help their kids with learning disabilities, or as I like to say, learning differences, go from surviving to thriving. Hello, today we are meeting with Leah Stein, who is a Charlotte Mason homeschool mom. And welcome, Leah.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for agreeing to meet with us. So let's start off by telling people what Charlotte Mason is.
Well, I'm not the expert on Charlotte Mason, but I started doing this because a friend of mine did Charlotte Mason style. And a lot of it is based upon reading, just reading biographies and living books and going out and having those experiences and doing the things rather than sitting and reading about them. For science, the first, I think it's 4 or 5 years is all nature. It's all going out and doing stuff outside and doing nature walks and studying, reading books about different animals and bugs and all the things. So like we have, like for history, for example, we have our spine, which is a living book where it goes through stories of history stories. And then you have a spine that you pick, or a biography that you pick, which is on whoever in that time frame that you want to read about. So there's, there's different ones that are like A Gentle Feast, which is made for you. And you just kind of go through it and pick your books that you want to do. And it's easy peasy. And then there's ones that are more like the Delectable Education, where they give you do a phone interview, they get to know your kids and what they like and what they don't like, and they will actually give you a list of the books and how you're supposed to work through them when you do it. So there's different ways to approach it. And I have, after it's probably been 5 years that I've been working on Charlotte Mason style, I have kind of made it my own. So like I incorporate a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and whatever works best for our lifestyle.
And how long have you been homeschooling?
I have been homeschooling this is my 9th year if I count kindergarten.
Okay. And so you said you've been doing Charlotte Mason for about 5 years. What approach did you do before that?
Throw it all together approach.
Okay. And so since you've been doing this 5 years, I assume that this approach is working really well for your family. Why do you feel like that it works well for your family?
Well, there's certain things that I don't like about it that I don't follow. One was the grammar and the like spelling and stuff like that. That the language arts section of it was very hard for us. My son actually recently found out that he has eye issues, so his reading never really took off. And then my oldest one didn't really do well with that part at all either, because I feel like it's something they really have to want to do for it to be successful in that frame. And they don't want to do it. They're boys. They don't want to read. If they don't have to, they don't want to. If they don't want to write, they don't want to write. So they're not going to put in that extra effort. I could see doing it with my daughter, who's 2. She wants to read already, but it didn't hatch well for us. Like I don't feel like we progressed the way we should have. So I regret trying that because I kind of held everything back, I think, because of doing it. But that doesn't always happen. Like I said, that desire has to be there from the kids to do it.
And I think it's like that for everything.
Right.
When you're homeschooling.
But this is such I don't want to say lackadaisical, but kind of, you're kind of, okay, you do copywriting and you're supposed to copy the text and you're supposed to focus on each word and write it down from memory at a time. And, so you have to have that focus and that concentration. And, for anybody, pretty sure my son has ADHD too. So that adds to that. He's not gonna sit there and concentrate on this word and memorize it and write it down. And, it's not there. So I think that for us, it wasn't the right answer. Could be the right answer for other people. I know I had my friend, it was the right answer for her, for all 4 or all 3 of her kids.
And does she have boys?
She has 1 boy. Actually, he didn't go through that because he has other things going on too, which was not conducive to that.
So I wonder if the program works better for girls.
I don't know, because some of the other stuff, like the history and stuff, is great. We do read alouds, like most of the books we read together. And we talk about them, and we dive into them a little bit more than we would if it was like a curriculum. And I think the kids like that a lot. So I think that even my older one, he's like, well, do I have to read it on my own? It's like, I'd much rather just read together. So I think he might get a little bit more out of it, and he enjoys it more because we're all doing it together.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
a big thing. What are the ages of all 3 of your kids?
I have 14, an 11, and a 2.
Okay. And how about the nature books? Is that what they're called?
Yeah, nature study and nature books. Okay, so nature study, we really enjoy that. To the point where my 11-year-old, he was kind of raised doing that. My older one, he's not really that interested. He's like, whatever, I don't care. But my middle one, oh, you got to come see this flower. You got to come see this bug. And he'll sit there and he'll stare at this bug and he'll watch all the movements and then he'll be like, oh, I'm going to go look this up. And he goes and looks it up. And, and my 2-year-old is actually starting to do that stuff too, because we talk about it and it doesn't even have to be anything crazy. It could be just talking about it. We go for a walk and we're like, oh, okay, let's recognize the spring. What's showing up for us? What do you see that's blooming? What are some signs that you see? What do you think your favorite sign is? Like at our old house, the trees that were around our house, we knew all of them. We knew what they were. We knew the bark. We knew the flowers, the leaves, and we identified them. And we moved to our new house in a different area, and we have 8 acres. And my kids, both the older one and the middle one, can both identify trees. And they go through and they're like, oh, this is a pin oak, and this is a hawthorn, and and it's really neat that they know that, because they're like, okay, we're not taking that one out because that's a hawthorn. We want that, and so they're using it. They're using that knowledge on a daily basis. So, and, I kept a nature journal, which I love. I still love my nature journal. But I'm an artist and I'm a writer, so it comes naturally to me. For them, it was very, very difficult. So we ended up not doing it with them as much. But my middle one, he actually does entomology and he pins bugs. So that's his way of kind of exploring that. My other one, he's growing mango trees and other stuff from seeds that he decided that he wanted to do. So, it shows up in different ways. Even if I didn't think at the time that it was sinking in, and that they were actually getting anything out of it, and then realize, oh yeah, they totally are. And it's nice.
Yeah, that's one of the amazing things I experienced when homeschooling my kids too, was my youngest son. When I used to read our history books to him, it seemed like he was not paying attention, like he was falling asleep. But he could talk about the information that, he learned during it. So that is a nice thing to discover later on in retrospect.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They'll say random stuff to me. And they're like, oh, we studied that guy. Well, he did this, this, and this. And, they're like, go on and on. I'm like, oh, you were listening. That's nice. I'm glad you got something out of that.
That's great. So please share with our viewers why you started homeschooling.
Well, I started homeschooling because my husband's a chef, and he worked crazy, crazy hours. He worked at hotels in Virginia Beach at the oceanfront, and he would go in at 10 a.m. ish, and he wouldn't get home till like 2 a.m. So it was crazy schedule. And I was actually at the doctor's getting my son's physical to go into kindergarten, and I'm filling out the paperwork, and I'm on the phone with him, and I'm like, what do you think about homeschooling? And he was like, well, I guess if we're going to try it, kindergarten's the time. And now here we are, 9 years later. Things have changed throughout the years with our schedule. And, he's actually starting a business right now, which is going to change his schedule dramatically, make him way more available. But I think that we'll probably continue homeschooling because, the kids are really excited about still being able to have that family time and have that, the bonding time that we have missed because he's been working a lot crazy hours again for the last couple of years. And that's why we're doing the whole business, because it's just time for him to be home more. But that gives us, like, the kids want to be around me. I feel like they want to be around us. They don't I don't know. I feel like there's definitely a bond that's different from being home all day with me versus if they were to go and be gone all day.
And so your kids have never been in traditional school?
No. My oldest in preschool.
Okay. Wow. I don't know that preschool counts. It's a totally different expectation during preschool.
Right.
So do your kids feel like they've missed out at all?
I've asked, and because that's always been one of my biggest worries. I'm like, oh, do you feel like you're missing anything? And luckily, where we were in Virginia Beach, we had a great homeschool community, and we had some really good friends. And then we moved here, and we haven't found the community yet, but we do have a group that's really close to us. That's a homeschooling group that offers classes, and they do dances and step parties, things like that. So they're getting a little bit of that stuff, but also they don't really know what they're missing if they're missing. Like the biggest thing that we're having a really hard time with right now is sports, because both of my boys are wrestlers, and my oldest is going into high school next year, and he will be very limited on what he's able to do because they don't allow us to wrestle with schools here. So he would have to go to school full time even if he did an online accredited school, he can still not do a public school sports.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So he's really torn because he doesn't want to go to school and he doesn't want to miss out on wrestling. So it's just, we'll see how this year goes because he's pretty much decided that he wants to stay home. But I mean, that's pretty much going to end his wrestling if he doesn't go to a lot of very big tournaments, because that's all it's going to be available to him. So that's really, really, really tough. But other than that, I mean, they've never really, they don't want to go to public school. And, not that they wouldn't thrive. I think my middle one would definitely thrive. I think that he would do very well because he's very social. But he's like, I don't want to. I want to be home. I want to be with you guys. I don't want to go anywhere, And the youngest, who knows? She's only 2. So maybe when school time comes, maybe she'll go to school. We don't know. Who knows?
And that's the nice thing about homeschooling is you don't have to plan it for the rest of their lives.
Right,
you can take it day by day, month by month, year by year.
Yep.
So what kind of business is your husband starting?
He is starting a home detailing company called Shack Shine.
Oh, that's very different.
Yeah, it's way different than being a chef. But, with COVID, the restaurant industry has changed so dramatically. He has no staff. He is, just crazy. Nobody wants to actually work and they don't want to work well. My son went to work with him on his last day and the managers there were like, wow, he's 14 and he does better work than these people who've been working here for 10 years.
Wow.
Because nobody wants to work. And, it's just so, and his hours, like I said, have been crazy and he's commuting an hour and a half from the house and it's just a lot. And, he's like, I just want some normalcy, some normal hours and be able to turn my phone off at the end of the day and not have to worry about anything, somebody calling me and, So, yeah, so it's going to be exciting. And on top of my business, hopefully we can get a groove going.
So will your kids help your husband with the detailing?
Yeah. The older one can go probably work with him. And on the days, not full time, but, and then the other ones, we're all going to participate in delivering flyers and, getting the word out and doing the stuff, the networking. So
is he going to have an actual location? It's not going to be mobile?
It is. We're just going to be doing it out of the house because it's really just the truck. So
you said go to work with him, so that's why I figured.
Well, because it's a house detailing, so you have to go and
house detailing,
pressure washing, roof cleaning, driveway cleaning, window cleaning, Christmas light installation.
Oh, I assumed car detailing.
Oh yeah, no, sorry, I didn't say that. I didn't specify. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay. That was my assumptions.
So yeah, so it's gonna be pretty cool.
Awesome.
It'll flip upside down, having him home all the time.
So I'm going to back to the Charlotte Mason. Is there much of a financial investment in curriculum and materials?
Honestly, it can be because there's books, lots of books. Some of them you can get for free. A lot of the books that they recommend are very old and very hard to find. So there's a lot of books that are just, you might spend $30 on this one book, but it might get you through a semester or it might get you through a year, depending on the book. So the books add up. Obviously, the more kids you have. So it definitely, we combine a lot of stuff because they're only 3 years difference. So I normally kind of go in between the two of them and pick stuff just to kind of save in that aspect. But the other stuff is little nickel and dime stuff, art supplies, things like that. But yeah, so it can be costly, but it also can be affordable if you have books or have access to books. You're not going to find a lot of the books in the library though. But if you join some, Charlotte Mason buy and sell groups on Facebook and stuff, you can find some of this stuff pretty cheap.
And how about Gutenberg Press?
That sounds really familiar. I cannot think of it though.
And I may be saying the name wrong, but it's a website that has out of 100-year-old and older books available for free.
Oh, hold on, let me see. I'm looking it up. Yeah, they might have. There are some. There's another one. There's a book treasury like that. It's I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but it's the end of the school year, so all that's not even in my brain right now. There's another one that does the free ebooks, which the electoral education people will refer you to them if they have the book. Archive, maybe archive.org, I think. So yeah, wherever you can find the books, find them. Used bookstores, thrift stores, eBay. I get books from everywhere. Thrift books, because Thrift Books offers a discount for teachers.
Oh, and so That's a good point. How do you prove that you're a teacher?
Luckily, my local group gives me an ID, but you can buy one too. You can get one at Homeschool ID. I can't remember the website. I don't know if it's just Virginia because I never really got one. We also have to put in a letter of intent to the city saying that we're intending to homeschool, so I can use that as well.
Okay, great. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And will you share about socialization, since that's always a question people ask?
Sure. So that was one question my husband said too when we first started this. Well, they're not going to have any friends. They're not going to know anybody. They're not going to, all the things. And it depends on how much you're willing to put into it, on what kind of socialization they're going to have. Like I was saying, we had a very, very solid group of people that we literally hung out with all the time in Virginia Beach, and we still talk to them and we still connect with them. They've actually come to visit us. We've gone to visit them. It's, probably 4 of us that we just all hang out, and the kids played well. I mean, they've been friends since they were pretty much kindergarten. There was like homeschool PE at the YMCA that we were part of. So they made a lot of friends there. And there were different groups, co-ops and stuff that we participated in, and play groups. I haven't really dove into that here in the past 2 years, and that's kind of my fault, but we're consumed with toddlerhood and wrestling. So my time is kind of limited, but I'm hoping to be able to do that in the near future to get a little bit more friends going on. Because they do while they have a couple friends, I feel like they, could benefit from some more. But there's neighbor kids. I mean, we have 8 acres, and we lucked out on having some kids at the back of our property that are the same age about. So they all play, which is nice because they get, friendships right off the bat. So I don't think socialization is a problem.
Where did you move to?
Fredericksburg, Virginia area. So not too far, about 3 hours from where I was. But
that's pretty far.
Yeah. Now we have land and chickens and love it.
That's great. So what would you say is the best part of homeschooling?
The connection, I feel like, with the kids. And while we, homeschooling is not easy, and it's not for the faint of heart, and it's not all, sunshine and roses, but it definitely has given us a bond that I don't think we would have had otherwise. A bond with things that are different, that are outside of normal daily life, that maybe more in normal daily life. Like, we know each other very well. We know all, I don't know. There's just so many things that I've learned in the process. Like, I was never big on nature and all that stuff. I was like, now I'm good, but now I'm like, I love gardening. I love being outside. And this opened it up to me, showing the kids these things and learning that way. And now, I've learned so much in the process. I've learned about the kids. I've learned about myself. And there's just so many benefits, I feel like, that, if you can do it, I suggest it.
And what does your typical day look like? Do you have a typical day?
We go back and forth with that. At one point we tried to do school in the afternoons, and that quickly ended because we never did school. We just never did it. So I was like, okay, that's not going to work. So now we have our morning routine. So we do school from about 9 or 9:30 to about 12:30. And that's our school day. Sometimes we go a little over. Sometimes there's a couple things we don't get to. But it all kind of rounds out. So it's not like I used to stress about it all the time about how, oh my gosh, we have to cover this every day, all day. And it would stress the kids out. It would stress me out. And it just wasn't worth the stress. So we set a time limit. This is our time limit. Whatever we get done, we get done. Whatever we don't, we don't. And we've never had a problem with that. But so that's pretty much our day. And then toddler goes for her nap, and the boys are off to do their own thing. And I normally work while she's napping. And then we all hang out after her nap and do something.
So when the boys are doing their own thing, are they wrestling with each other?
Oh, no, they would kill each other.
Oh.
Well, one's about 80 pounds. The other one's 150. So, and it would end in a brawl. No, they could not wrestle each other.
So what do they usually do while you're working?
Well, my 11-year-old, he's in the process of learning some habits because he is all over the place. He doesn't know what he wants to do. My 14-year-old, he knows exactly what he wants to do. He has lawnmowers out back that he's fixing to sell. They both have bundled wood that they are working on bundling and selling out front to help pay for their wrestling. Sometimes they go work for the neighbors. They'll do yard work or whatever so they can have some pocket change. They have a tree house out back that they'll go and hang out in. They do the chores, so they take care of the chickens and the dogs and stuff like that. So pretty much whatever they really want. Like, I kind of let them do their own thing if they want to. The middle one likes to go toad hunting, so I'll catch them doing that quite a bit in the summer. But yeah, that's pretty much whatever they want, their hobbies, and I try to let them get bored and find their own things to do. The older one, like I said, he's definitely more self-sufficient because he's the oldest, and just how it goes.
How many chickens do you have?
I think we're at 26.
Wow. Do you sell your eggs?
We do. Yeah. Yeah.
That's great.
Otherwise, we'd be eating a lot of eggs.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and do your kids watch much TV?
I try not to let them, but like Zachary, my oldest, he could go all day. He could go probably a month without TV and be fine. The 11-year-old, on the other hand, he loves TV. He loves to watch TV. He loves to watch YouTube. He loves to play video games, all those things. So I have to put pretty strict limits on him because otherwise I'll walk out there and that's what he's doing. So I have to, be like, okay, no TV. So it just depends on the day and it depends on the attitude, really, on how much he gets. But I normally limit, like, they can have their phone. It's an hour a day that they can do stuff on their phone. And that's actually turned into every other day because they were on it too much. They would plan their whole day around playing Minecraft.
On their phone?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I was like, okay, we're done. We're done with that. It's going to be every other day because there's no reason you need to plan your whole day every day around playing Minecraft. So it goes up and down, but I try to limit it. We don't normally have the TV on. We're not the house that, leaves the TV on all day for background noise.
Yeah, it didn't sound like it.
Yeah. I used to be like that, but now it's like, okay, I have enough noise in my house. I don't need more.
And are there any cons or negative things that you want to share about homeschooling?
I mean, of course there is. There's the fighting, the bickering, they're together all day, every day. So they bicker all day, every day. It's all the things that normal brothers would do with each other. And it's just more because they're home all the time. Because I talked to my friend who has kids the same age and they're in school and I'm like, do they fight like this too? And she's like, yeah, all the time. And I'm like, okay, so it's not because they're all together all the time. It just seems like it because they're together all the time. So there's that. And, having me time is very difficult, which I'm hoping will lighten up a little bit with my husband actually being available.
Hmm.
And the toddlerhood has definitely taken its toll on this school year because first year wasn't bad. She was still pretty little. This year, she's all up in everything. So I'm hoping next year, I think that she's going to want to actually do school. So maybe if I can keep her occupied with something, that'd be great. But I mean, other than that, I feel like, the pros outweigh the cons. But the sports thing is a big one.
Mm-hmm.
But depending on where you are, that might not be an issue.
And depending on what your kids' interests are.
Right. That too. Yeah. And I think that would be one of the cons is that they don't get exposed to as many interests like that they could in public school, because in public school they would have, music class, they would have art class, they would have this class, this class, this class. And yes, I can sign up for those classes, but it's going to cost me an arm and a leg. And I have 2 kids that need to go through it. And it's hard to expand their horizons unless I'm introducing it to them. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a big challenge that I personally feel like they're missing because they don't get to try all the sports. They didn't get to try all the classes and try to find more variety in what they like because, it's expensive.
Hmm. Yeah. So for me, I feel like my kids got to try more things than they ever would have tried having been in traditional school. But it depends. No. It depends where you live. And I mean, like my kids for their PE, they did horseback riding, they did archery, they did fencing, they did parkour, but out in the country, those are harder things for you to come across.
Well, and afford, I think the affordability was a big part for me because I'm like, okay, we just can't afford it, but they do shoot bow. So they have archery. I mean, we do all this stuff out back. So I guess it depends on that stuff because, he's my 14-year-old. I mean, he can go and take apart a whole lawnmower and put it back together and fix it.
Yeah, and
to do that in public school.
Right. He wouldn't have time to learn to develop that.
Right. My other one can go out back and identify all the trees and the plants and the bugs.
And the frogs.
And the frogs. Yes, definitely all the frogs. And I mean, he finds the eggs and he's like, oh, these are bullfrogs. So we got to keep them and raise them and then release them. And, so normally have those on my kitchen table. But you're right. I mean, I guess, I guess maybe I feel that that's lacking, but I don't know that they feel it's lacking.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, those things they're taking away in school these days too. So really? Some school kids don't have access to music and art and,
really?
Yeah. I mean, they might get to do it one quarter a year. They do one, like they'll do art or they'll do music. So those aren't things like when and you're younger than me, and I had access to, to shop class when I was a kid. They don't have that anymore. They don't have home ec anymore.
Oh, see, my kids can sew and they can do all that stuff. That's another thing about Charlotte Mason. Sorry, is the handicrafts. The handicrafts are amazing, and like it gets you to get creative and get thinking about things that they can use. Like they can build envelopes out of paper. They can make little baskets out of paper. They can sew. All of them can sew. They can like hand sew. And like, so all of these different things, they learned like you could do handicraft. I mean, a handicraft could be as simple as cooking, learning how to cook. So like my oldest one, he likes to bake and he likes to cook, but his dad's a chef too. So that played into that role a lot.
Yeah.
But, so those are different things we focused on.
So did you teach them all of those things, you and your husband?
Yeah. We would, for the sewing and stuff, like I had my mother-in-law help a little bit because she's great at that stuff. But, we took like, I think it was like 6 months, maybe like the first 2 semesters. And we would go and we pick one handicraft and work on that. So ideally you're supposed to work on it every night. And, I guess if you're living school and that's all you're doing, but Charlotte Mason's very involved. So there's a lot. If you're going to cover everything that they suggest, it's definitely a daily commitment. Like you have to live that life. That's why I pick and choose, because it's not feasible for us to do what we do and do a full feast is what they call it.
Well, it's great to know that you don't have to do everything for your children to thrive and become well-rounded individuals.
Yeah,
so, because a lot of people
Mason groups, you're going to find a lot of people that are like, you either do it all or you might as well not do it. So beware of that. Like, know that you don't have to. You'll be okay.
Yeah, and a lot of people will come into homeschooling thinking they have to spend 6 hours schooling. But like you said, I mean, on average, homeschoolers can spend 2 to 3.5 hours and cover everything that their child would have covered in their 6-7 hour day at traditional school.
Yep.
Do you do any tests for your children? Do you know what their levels are?
I would like to say yes, but no, I don't. I don't.
And I mean, there was no like wrong or right answer.
I know, but I feel like I should do tests, but I don't. I kind of know where they're at. I mean, by doing their math lesson with them every day, I know if they remember it or not. I'll pop in a couple of review questions. If they don't know it, we'll cover it again. I don't feel like they really need tests. When we're doing spelling and stuff, I will do spelling tests to see if they really know it. Or when we're doing like chemistry, like we were doing chemistry at the beginning of the year, and there was a lot of terms that I wanted to make sure they really understood. So I'd make them write I'd make them write a definition, about it. But for the most part, no, we don't do tests. As we have an end of the year test that we have to do.
Oh, do you?
Yes.
For the state?
It's a Virginia. It is, I don't know. We use academic excellence end of the year tests, but we are required to submit test results.
So you are testing then?
We are testing, but not by choice.
Right. Yeah.
Well, we could do an evaluation. We could do an evaluation where we talk to somebody and they evaluate the kids every year. But I feel like eventually they're going to have to test anyway. I mean, if they want to go to college, they're going to have to know what a test looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's stressful for them to sit down and do the test. It normally takes us a week or more to do it, to go through the whole thing, because I'm not pushing them. And because I feel like the more stressed out they are about it, the worse they're going to do. And then they're going to feel bad, even though it's nothing. I mean, it is what it is. It's just like SOL.
So if people don't pass the test, do they force families to put their kids in traditional school, or what is
I have no idea what happens if they don't pass it. I know we have to submit the results. I think what happens is if they go below the fourth stay 9, I don't know how you say it, stay 9, they can send something saying they have to improve next year or something like that. Like
they have to what next year?
Improve.
Oh,
but I don't know that anybody's going to enforce anything. I honestly don't know. We've never been there. So, I mean, like, and it's crazy because the tests are, they test above and below their grade level. So they're missing questions and they're freaking out because they don't know the answer. And they're like, oh my gosh, I feel like I don't know this. And I don't know this. And I'm like, well, we didn't cover it. Just make your best guess. And they're like, but I'm going to fail, and it ends up every year they come out well above where they should be. But I feel that way too, because the tests are so weird. It's like, why would you put ones that are so far advanced that, like, why would my fourth grader place it in a ninth grade level of math? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, thank you so much, Leah, for all of this great information. I think this is a wealth of information, not just about Charlotte Mason, but about homeschooling and how it isn't as tricky as people who aren't yet doing it might think it is.
Yeah, definitely true. It was very overwhelming at first, but once I realized it's not that, it's a lot easier.
Awesome. Thank you again.
You're welcome.